It's a movie that bankrupted a studio, bankrupted United Artists. What I know about this film is this. It's a beautiful film. It's going to have some beautiful scenery. Critics hated it in its initial 5.5 hour, I think it was, run. I'm going to like one thing, and that's the Criterion logo. That's always signals to me a film of importance. Either a brilliant film or a film that had a significant impact on the industry, as this one did. I'm hoping this one's going to be brilliant and have a significant impact. So I'm going to just let you watch the first few minutes or the first 30 seconds or whatever it is of the film, see what the quality looks like to you. There's Chris Christopherson here. This is the prologue to the movie. He is a Harvard graduate who goes and takes a job in this town as a marshal. You get a sense for time here based on obviously the costumes period. He's late for graduation apparently. I'm going to check back in from time to time, but right now I'm going to pause it, so we'll be back in a little bit. So after a rather lengthy graduation from Harvard, now the Chris Christopherson character, who I don't know his name at this point, enters the Wyoming territory. I believe as a marshal. You know, you can say a lot of things about Michael Cimino, but the scenery in this is gorgeous. And the train going through the mountains here in what is actually Montana, I believe, but meant to be Wyoming. It's just gorgeous. Snow-capped mountains and these are apparently French settlers. This movie was originally called the Johnson County Wars, and it's meant to depict these settlers that came in, who were from other countries. Some didn't speak English. They were trying to make a home for themselves here in the rough West. And these land barons, who owned a lot of land and a lot of cattle, hired gunmen essentially to kill them because they were stealing cattle from the land. They were doing that kind of stuff, and the land barons didn't tolerate it. Pretty graphic scene here.
Kovac! Kastor! Kovac! Mitchell Kovac! Kastor! Kastor ed! Fotogrebe! Kastor ed!
The lessons in the West were rough, and certainly Cimino wanted to capture these as authentically as possible, which I think he did in this particular scene, clearly. And there's quite a graphic there. Okay, so I'm about 3 hours into the film now. I've been liking it. It's got beautiful scenery in it. You know, part of the problem with Heaven's Gate is that it is dealing with a lot of people, a lot of Slavic people in particular, who came to this country to settle this land, and hence the subtitles that I have on. It's hard to understand some of them, and some of the times they just speak in Slavic, but you get the idea of what's going on. You got a lot of gunfire going on here. That's why the subtitles here are important. It's not that you can't hear it, but it's more difficult by the background noise and a lot of Slavic people. This is a lengthy battle scene. It's based on a true story. These land barons, you know, they had almost total control of these little towns. They owned the land, they had the money, they could pay people to do their bidding. It was interesting, to say the least. But I like it. You know, I think the video is good. I think the audio is good. I don't want to give away too much of the movie here, although obviously you don't know who anybody is and what's going on here, so unless you've seen it, there's not much of a spoiler here, but clearly you've got a lot of action, definitely some visual moments, let's say, and yeah, so I'm going to pause it now. And I guess like any movie that talks about war, whether it be World War II, the Civil War, the Johnson County War that this film depicts, or any other war, there's really no winners ever. Just a lot of losers, a lot of death. And in the end, the rich take advantage of the poor till the poor have nothing left. And desperation sets in. You know, the world is a pretty cruel place. This movie depicts it fairly well. Yeah. It's a good movie. It's not a bomb. It may be the movie that sunk United Artists, but not because it's a bad movie. Not because there's no plot. Not because there's no characters that you care about. Just because of excess. Alright guys, Dean of DVD. I give this one a high rating. I'll talk about it more in another video. Well, as the credits finish, I will say a few things about Heaven's Gate. I thought it was a beautiful movie. Let me turn this volume down again because it's going to be a little loud. I thought it was a beautiful movie. You know, here's some spoilers, and if you don't want to hear any spoilers on this movie, then you can. It's not going to be drastic spoilers, but I'm not going to give away too much of the plot, other than to say the story really focuses in on the Chris Christopherson character, Jim Averill. From the beginning of the movie, when he's at Harvard at his graduation, seeing the lovely girl that he kind of sees from afar, he dances with briefly, but doesn't ever seem to end up with her, to the marshal 20 years later, who's in a situation that, though he may try to do right, ultimately the powers that be are stronger sometimes than the will to do right or do the right thing. And the ending of the movie, the prologue to the movie, well, again it focuses on Jim Averill, the Chris Christopherson character, and how he really probably wouldn't have been happy with the girl of his dreams, maybe, from that Harvard prologue at the beginning of the movie. maybe it's only possible to feel something sometimes when you're passionate about a cause. It was an interesting movie. I'd have to watch it again, and I would. Despite the 3 hours and 30 minutes, I would watch it again. It was worthy of my viewing time. There were times when it probably moved a little slow. In the 3.5 hours, you'd expect that. The battle scene, which is really at the core of the movie, probably lasted longer than it needed to. But that's part of the grit of this movie. And Cimino did a nice job on really kind of getting to the grit of things. You know, it moves slow. The music is slow moving, I guess. It sets the tone. The visuals are wonderful. And the acting, I thought, was really good. It's a movie that's hard to define, and I wouldn't put it in a pigeonhole necessarily. But I liked it. It was an experience I'm glad I had. I'll have it again. I will watch this one again. Or maybe certain parts of it again. To kind of see what was going on in different scenes. And it's it'll be a movie that sticks with you for a little bit, I think. I'd recommend it. If you can catch it somewhere, I don't know if it's if parts of it are on YouTube or I doubt it's on Netflix. It might be on Hulu Plus, I'm not sure. But hey, plunk down the money and get the Criterion version. I don't think you can go too far wrong with it. It was a good movie as far as I'm concerned. I'm not going to say it was, you know, the best movie I've seen or a masterpiece or anything, but certainly I enjoyed it. Now there's also, I stick this in front, or you won't be able to see a thing. Here's the DVD. You'll see a thing, but there's also a second disc to this, which has lots of extras on it, including an audio interview with Cimino and producer Joanne Corelli, new interviews with actor Chris Christopherson, as well as the soundtrack arranger and performer David Mansfield, a restoration demonstration, and some other stuff. And of course, there's a booklet which I showed in another video I did on this movie. I'm really kind of obsessed with this movie. Hard to believe that a single movie could take down a movie studio that had as many great movies as United Artists did, from Rocky to Raging Bull to the Bond movies and so on. But this one apparently did it. I liked it. I'm glad I bought it. I'm glad I own it. I'd recommend it. Alright guys, that's it for now. Take care.
Not by character, but people. I think everybody was a little blindsided by the immediate reaction to the film, which was so negative. Both Michael and his movie deserved better. You know, deserved being treated like a work of art and not as some failed economic venture. The mistakes that were made out of a desire to do something beautiful. You know, it wasn't aimed at being commercial, and it certainly wasn't commercial. That's probably why I won't ever regret doing that film. But I'm glad I don't have to do it right now.